Hello. Thank you for joining us for session number 11 of the Unsung Tales, a one-ring actual play on the Happy Jacks RPG Network. It was 11, right? 11?
Yeah.
All right, everybody looked at me as like, is that it look like I got it right? Or is that
We're
like...
talking.
Okay, good. To find all the sessions of this game, you can visit happyjacks.org/unsungtales without the. And to find all the games on the Happy Jacks RPG Network, you can go to happyjacks.org. My name is Kimmy. I'm your lore master for this game, which has just been fantastic. I love every moment of it. We are using safety tools at the table. We have X cards in place. We have an open door policy, and we've done lines and veils, and we check in with those regularly. And so let's go around the table and let's introduce who we are tonight. Let's start over here with Dave.
Nah, it's my week.
It's your week.
Feel the power. Hi, everybody. I'm Kadave. I'll be playing Hanar, the dwarf of Durin's folk, who is just over the moon excited to meet more elves. Like, he's become a huge elf fanboy in universe. So, yeah, who knew? Who knew that was going to happen? I didn't. But that's the fun of the game. Oh, and we're both he, him.
Howdy, everybody. I'm Jay, and I'm playing Burl Sausage Brandybottom, a hobbit of the Shire, and also both of us, he, him. And I am excited to see just how many elves Sausage offends in this little romp through Mythland.
It'll be great. Hi, everybody. I'm Kai. I use he, they, and she pronouns, and I'm here to play Erland, the extremely nervous elf of Mythland, who uses he and they pronouns. It's going to be great. We're going to do great.
It's gonna be fine. Hi, I'm Sam. I play Runa, a barding of Bree, who is a treasure hunter. Both she, her pronouns. And I'm definitely not gonna get in trouble for climbing elven architecture at all.
It'll be fine. All right, so last time on the Unsung Tales, you had opened up the pearl, and in it you found Palantir, which is one of the seeing stones. If you saw the movie, they're those like crystal ball-like things that are very scary, and everyone's always afraid of them and freaking out about them. So you found one that had been lost in the ocean ages ago. The big angular fish that you guys fought, like, had swallowed it and all that.
Like, from what I gathered, it never actually made it here to Middle Earth. To this
yes.
continent.
No.
Like, it started its journey, fell off the boat on the way here.
It could have. Well, there's also.
Or did it come here and then go back and come?
It depends on which one it is.
Okay.
When
We don't know whose it is.
Yeah, we don't know whose it is yet.
They go back and forth then. Okay.
They don't always go back and forth, but they do. They are moved.
Okay.
So there are some that came to Middle Earth and then were put on boats to move somewhere else, especially as the Numenorians started splitting apart into multiple kingdoms and things like that after they came over and started Arnor. And then, after the generations, people have more than one kid. They start fighting. They want the kingdom. They split up the kingdom. People attack. Things happen. So
Sections of the world fall into the sea,
So when you are in Middle Earth and you're moving, you don't just like throw it in a U-Haul. There's usually ships or something involved.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I just, in my head, I was trying to figure out, like, if it had been here and left, or if I only saw it leave
The one
and
you
fall
have,
into the sea.
I think your vision was specifically non-specific.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Planned,
It was on a
plannedly
boat.
vague. So it was on a boat. I believe you saw on the ship like humans, like men. So you were carrying this around. You decided you're just going to have it. And after you all touched it, except for Sausage, still got a chance.
Dodge that bullet.
There's still time.
Yeah, there's still time.
Well,
Join us in Shadow Point later.
Yeah.
oh boy.
And you met up with your patron, Leorin, last session, and he freaked out. He really freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
It had not even crossed his mind, even though he's seemed omnipotent. He was not. He did not expect that. And you learned quite a lot about Leorin, and not a lot of specific answers given freely, but gathered a lot of information based on his reactions and what he said and what he knew of the Palantir. And he said it was up to you what you did with it, because he started to believe that there was some sort of guidance or fate or providence that had brought this thing to you through the ages. And so he washed his hands of making the decisions about it. Although he did say that he feared for your safety if someone were to see him through the stone. So he said he would not accompany you. But he did send Ranyar with you. So you have Big Floof Dog, who's a very, very good boy.
Goodest boy.
The goodest of the boys. And he's with you, and you have traveled down. It's a very short journey, and you had a very easy journey, because it's something that Ireland has done many, many times, because it's your home.
Yeah.
And we ended last session with you carrying the Palantir in its pearl case over this rise, and down below you see the Grey Havens, or Mithland is what it's called in the Elvish tongue. So it's beautiful, it's amazing, and yeah. So Ireland, how are you feeling about being home?
So unbelievably nervous. Unlike everybody else, where, going to their home. I mean, I will say, like, Hanar is a little bit also fish out of water at home, but, like, going to Sausage's home is pleasant and lovely and exciting, and going to Bree is always exciting. Going to your mom and your grandma's house is always exciting. Ireland has avoided going home for quite a while because he just left. He just left.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, okay, I'm going for a walk. I just left. So he's a little nervous. He's dipped in and out a few times, but definitely is not behaving like an elf of his standing, and has not been for a minute. So it's a little awkward to return home.
Yes. So as you come over this rise, you see the light of the sun is glinting off the water in the ocean. It's stunning. There are cliffs and pillars on both sides that kind of slope down into like a small... there's only a few areas that have beach, but they're smooth cliffs. They're not like the rocky cliffs we think of as like California cliffs. They're like beautiful, light, like almost white stone that are topped like with vegetation and beautiful trees, because it is forest up until it's kind of getting to the beachy areas. And it's almost hard to tell where this beautiful natural stone ends and where the buildings begin, because they look almost as if they've been carved by the waves themselves out of these cliffs. Beautiful spires that very much mimic kind of the heights of these cliffs around them. And the cliffs aren't just like straight cliffs. They're kind of like these small like pillars of rock and stone, like almost small mountains. If you've seen, there's pictures of it's Guilin province in China, where they have these like almost like like pillars of stone of rock that you go through. They're very famous. If you saw them, you'd be like, oh yes, I've seen many pictures of those. And they're like that, except they're like smooth white rock that kind of break down, and you can see that the ocean's been beating at them for millennia, almost as long as the elves have been around, and have been wearing at them. So some of them are shorter. As they get farther away from the ocean, they're a little bit taller. And on these, the elves have built this stunning, beautiful city. This is one of the biggest elven cities still on Middle Earth. It is one of the last great cities. So there's this one, there's Rivendell, you've heard of, because it's fairly close to Bree. Occasionally elves pass through from Rivendell through Bree, coming this direction. A lot of times they avoid Bree. No reason. But their final destination is the Grey Havens. The Grey Havens is basically the place that elves leave Middle Earth from. So eventually every elf who decides to actually leave will come through the Grey Havens. as you come down this road, it stops being kind of like the well-worn, country road with, dirt, but it's like well packed. It's very nice. And then slowly it becomes, but also you can tell that it's been carved out of the stone because you've gotten close enough now that everything's made of the stone. Some of the rocks have enough like built up soil on the tops that things are able to grow, but this road specifically has been carved out. So it mirrors that bright, not quite marble, but marble-esque. It's kind of like a mixture of like a sandstone and marble. If you kind of mix those together, that would be kind of the look that it has. And it goes down into these beautiful city with pillars that in some ways remind you of what you saw in Numinous, but a very different flavor of similar towers and pillars. So you can tell that eons ago, one of these cultures like was inspired by the other. You know which one is which.
Yeah.
But you can see that Numinous was very much inspired by the type of architecture and kind of culture that is here in the Grey Havens. As you look down, you see these beautiful ships, very similar to, in some ways, to what Erland helped you build. There's a very similar style to it. They're these beautiful ships that look like giant swans, but not in like the clunky way you think of like, okay, New York ponds, like, dude, yeah, like paddle and it'll pupper. Like they look like these are like fleet ships, like they very quick, kind of like how you have the figurehead on the top and the front of like a Viking vessel or something, like where it looks like a mighty ship, even though there's these beautiful carvings and configurations on it. And then like the wings go off to the sides and these beautiful sails kind of come out from there in a very different fashion than human sails. Human sails tend to go like straight up. Dwarves don't really sail, sorry.
No,
Yeah, hobbits really are great with rowboats, but not a lot of sails. So these sails almost go back at like a 45-degree angle, and they're very much in line with the rest of the carved figure of these swan boats. And they're just stunning. They're like this beautiful light wood color, which is a little odd because you know that the wood that you send down isn't generally that color, so they must treat it with something that gives it this beautiful look, or paint it, or who knows, elven magic. And, yeah, you know. Erland knows.
Erland
yes.
knows.
And there's these beautiful like there's some seagulls, but there's also this other type of bird that is a gull, but it has a lot longer like wings, and it has these like trailing feathers from its tail and the tips of its wings, and it has a little bit longer neck. So, and it has this beautiful cry that is much more melodic than normal gull cries, even though it seems in the same family of that. And those are just roosting like everywhere, like in the tops of these beautiful things. You can see them like flying above. They're like flying in these big flocks that almost look like little clouds flying about, but they're very swift and very graceful. And as you walk down, it's a normal like kind of day. So you can there's some people you can tell have shops there. There's not like hawkers like usually you'd think of. Elves aren't like, hey, come try my fish. There's like beautiful signs. There's like music playing. You do notice as you walk through, though, it's not as like populous as you would have expected a city this great to be. Like there are lovely homes and beautiful shops that are just closed, and it seems like no one's been there in a long time. They're not in disrepair, but you can just tell, like, okay, that no one's been in this beautiful home for maybe as long as some of you have been alive. So it's just a very sparse city. So there's this, as beautiful as everything is and as inspiring as it is, there's also a little bit of like emptiness and a true feeling of it being kind of not in decline, but coming to an end. So, all right, you're walking through the city.
I don't feel like the elves have like a cash economy, right? Like I'm sure they do, but that's never something I thought of
Yeah.
before.
I mean, they barter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They also have lots of wealth. Like they do use coins occasionally. They have minted their own. Most of the time, especially with other races from Middle Earth, they would give, or other species from Middle Earth, they would kind of work with whatever you've got.
sure.
Yeah, with each other, a lot of times it's more like, here's a gem, here's this, more than like, give me 40 pieces of silver, things like that.
Yeah, it's not something that really ever came up in the films,
Yeah.
right? Like the elves are just like, we all just kind of live here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like there was a scene when they're coming into Rivendell where they're like going down the market lane, like
Yeah.
a bunch of elves are like out doing their daily shopping or something.
Yeah. It's much more like communal, where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do your thing and everyone provides for each other. So
Sure.
that sort of thing.
I just had never really thought about it until the way you describe people out doing their daily business. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess not all elves are doing epic business at every hour.
No, they don't just sit around looking
Like, just
stunningly beautiful all
waiting
the
for-
time.
Momentous events.
Yes. All right. So, Ireland, is there a particular place you want to go? Is there a particular place you'd like to avoid?
I think I would like to give the shipyard a wide berth.
Okay.
And head towards where I think Lord Círdan would be found.
Okay.
We are on an urgent errand.
Absolutely. So Lord Círdan is one of the oldest elves in Middle Earth. He has made it his business to see off every elf who wants to leave to go back to Valinor. And he's pledged that he will stay and be like on the last ship. He is very good friends with a lot of very important figures. Gandalf is a good friend of his, Galadriel. Like he is one of the major figures in this in the world at the moment. Even if you know very little of elves, you probably have at least heard of him. He is notable because he is the only elf who has a beard. He has a very long beard that he is very. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just him.
Yep. He is.
it's gonna go great.
Yeah, and he is very proud of it, and it is a thing of beauty. So that also kind of has him stand out. He is a master shipwright. He, as you've recently learned, is one of the only openly open owners of a Palantir who uses it and has one. It's not like his, but he is kind of its steward. He keeps it in the White Towers, as you learned last session. Yeah, and he spends a lot of time in the White Towers, but he does spend a great deal of time here because he does see this as his most important journey, or his most important duty, is getting the elves safely back to Valinor, and that is his number one priority. And he helped train a good friend of yours, Hairland of Midland, who left without saying anything.
It's fine.
They'll be fine.
I did write ahead. I did tell him we were coming.
Yes, you did. So there is one of the many beautiful towers. There's one that has this beautiful carving in the bottom of it that looks like the ocean, just like around the base of the tower. And then as it goes higher, you can kind of see like it looks like tall waves, and then something that's sort of the same, the shape of like one of the swans taking flight as it goes up the tower. And then at the top, you can kind of see like clouds at the top of the tower, kind of like carved in the stone up there. And that is where Ireland walks up to.
Are you noticeably nervous? Or
I think he has a tendency when he's nervous to get very quiet and not fidgety, whereas the rest of the time when he's distracted, he's like touching stuff and fiddling with stuff and very friendly and outgoing with
Yeah.
you all. And this time he's been like very serious business, very quiet.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take that as a cue that I should also be like, kind of still and straight. I'm walking through. We're walking through, and I've been using my spear as like a little walking stick, and then we hit the roads and we hit the halls and the streets of the city, and I realized that I become self-conscious. I'm going tank, 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 and I just quickly pull it up and put it on my shoulder. I fidget with it for a little bit, like I don't know what to do, and then I end up settling it on my shoulder, and then I just turn to you and I say, "All right, Erland, well, I suppose we'll take our cues from you."
That's not the right tone.
Yes. So you are welcome to speak freely. But obviously with the greatest respect, he is one of the eldest elves and living beings in our world.
Right. On my best behavior.
Yes.
Eyes the tower suspiciously.
I take a little brush and I brush my little foot hairs. I
Oh,
kind of
that's
tidy
so
myself up, and
cute.
tidy my hair up,
Oh.
and then get ready to go. Ooh.
Yeah, and Erlen's gonna straighten himself up,
Mm-hmm.
feeling a little bit more with everyone instead of just walking down a long, slowly telescoping Hitchcock hallway towards Kieran, and is going to knock.
So we're going to pause there for just a moment, and we're going to do a flashback
Mm-hmm.
to what was in your letter.
Yes.
Mm.
This letter, I'll read it to you in the common tongue.
Okay.
My Lord Círdan, my dwarven companion, has had a unique means to see being underlined, Laurelin and Telperion. We ride swiftly to the sea and to the stones, underlined, of Mithland, seeking your counsel. Nemarie, my lord, Erland.
All right. Yeah, that is definitely going to get attention very well. And Círdan is actually, though he is one of the great elves, and he's actually incredibly tall, even for an elf, he's so tall. He's actually never left Middle-earth. He's never seen the trees. So that would be definitely something that he would be very interested in. So you cut back. You just knocked on the door. You hear footsteps, and a very, very short for an elf, still very tall for most of you here. Young looking. She's young for an elf. She's not quite as young as you, but much younger than most of the elves who are still here. Opens the door. Erland! Oh, you're here.
My Govanen.
And her name is Tyndell. You didn't really know her. She was working. She kind of does more of like the book work.
Mm-hmm.
For Círdan, she helps. Make sure we tally the number of the amount of lumber that's coming down and all the things. How many people are doing this? How many sail workers we have? All that stuff. And she has like very, very dark skin with like a bit of a reddish tinge, almost the color of like redwood bark.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very smooth, and hair that starts off very dark, but then like pales to like almost a white color before it like reaches the mid of her back. And she's just wearing like a simple like white dress, which is of impeccably beautiful cloth, but it's elven casual wear. It's like, okay, this is what I wear on casual Tuesday to work with Círdan.
Still fancier than anything Runa owns.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
All dressed in our beautiful, like, ocean-colored
Yes.
silks and things.
Lord Círdan had mentioned that I should be on the lookout for you since you'd written a letter. He seemed very interested in what you had written, and you can tell she like doesn't know is in it and would like to know
Mm-hmm.
because it elicited a very large reaction from Lord Kierden.
Yes, we've come seeking his wisdom. Is he within?
He is not. He is down at the docks right now.
Ah,
Would you like me to accompany you down to find him?
yes, that would be lovely. Thank you, Tyndall.
Yes. Oh,
Oh, these are my traveling companions.
oh,
This is Runa of Bree,
Hello.
hello.
Burl Brandybottom, the sheriff of the Shire.
Uh,
A
Michael Vonnen.
Yes, you are a hobbit, are you not?
I am indeed.
Well, this is delightful. Well, it is
Oh,
Megovanen.
oh, May go Vonnen.
Yes.
and my delightful dwarven companion, Hannah.
Oh, yeah. Well met, Master Dwarf.
Well, thank you for your hospitality.
Yes, well, I mean, you have a very interesting traveling group, Erland. I had heard that you had decided to wander Middle Earth, and I had thought perhaps it was alone in reflection, but this does not seem quite the group for reflection.
It would be a great shock to many to learn that reflection is aided by those around you.
Very wise words indeed. I will contemplate that. Interesting. But yes, let's away to Master Círdan. And she starts walking down the street and shuts the door behind her. And as you're walking, she greets some elves on different side. There's a lot of like kind of curious looks.
What? This is fine.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah. Travelers come through here, so that's not odd. It's the fact that the two well-known students of Círdan are walking with this motley crew that is a little bit of note.
Hanar keeps falling behind because he stops to like every elf that like stops and looks.
Mhm.
He stops to give like deep bows
Yeah.
as he goes down the street.
I was gonna say every time I make eye contact with somebody,
Yeah.
I use that new greeting that I just learned.
Very nice, very subtle. You're leaving a trail of very amused elves.
We're like the tourists with the book.
Every time, I think probably by the third or fourth time, you both bow and you say "My Govanen." Erlen just can't help it, but just slowly starts to crack a smile, even though he's been so serious this whole time.
Yeah. And everyone is incredibly polite about it. Like nobody is laughing at you. It's very like they are delighted that you are that's delighted to be here. Elves are very used to being treated with suspicion or resentment because they live forever. Different groups are jealous of that for many reasons, and over the years, even though they've done so much for many of the peoples of Middle Earth, they are now, since they are leaving, a lot of resentment has brewed as well. So there's a lot of that mixed in. So having strangers come here with just wholehearted delight and like just kindness and warmth is a nice change for them. So they are amused and smiling, and you get some of them. Oh, and they'll hand you things like you'll get like little wrapped pieces of bread or things like that. It's a little odd probably for those of you who are from like very busy cities, which is like all the three of you, honestly. There are no children.
It's me, the child.
Yeah, you are the
Right.
Yeah, Erland is the child. So it's not something that you probably notice right away, but after you've been walking through the city for a bit, it's just one of those things that you're suddenly like, oh yeah. And you know why that makes sense, but it's just something that's
Like, out of character, is that like a choice thing, or is that like a
partially elves
or like
have children very rarely. So when like Legolas in Lord of the Rings is one of the youngest elves.
Absolutely the
Mhm.
youngest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a baby.
Yeah, it's such a baby. It's just because like when you live forever, You only and elves tend to have one, maybe two children. A lot of if they have two children, most of the time it's because they had twins, and
Or
things
you
like
Elrond
that.
and have 3.
And have 3.
Mm.
Wild.
Well, I mean,
He's half elven though.
It's true.
That's why. um, but so this is just part of like their culture, and there is like a little bit of like magical choice. It is known that in dark times elves don't generally have children because they kind of like wait and like during war and things like that. So it's just something that happens very rarely, especially now that so many of them are planning to leave. They probably will have children, and they're like, why not wait till I'm in paradise to have children in the paradise?
that's fair.
Yeah.
Fair, yeah. I didn't know if it was like
An ill tiding.
yeah, like
Mm.
child can't go. They'd have to wait here until they're old enough, or
Oh,
I didn't
no.
know if there was anything
There's
like that.
not a lot of elves that were born in the third age.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They're all kind of planning to leave.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're packing for a trip. You don't have time for that.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Yeah.
One less
Packing
thing
for
to do.
300 years.
Yes. So yeah, that's just one of the small things that you kind of, again, like right off the bat, you're not like, there's no children, but like after a while, you're like, oh, these are just interesting.
I think I probably try and return the gifts with my rock candy I give the kids. Like, if anybody hands me something, I'm like, oh, and like fumble in pouches and pull out whatever I can find. Really, like, just thank you.
Uh-huh.
And then I put something in another pouch. And
I love the thought of like in your wake, there's like holding these stones that they know are not real, and then they like smell them, and then they're kind of like, and they lick them, and then they kind of just grin at each other in delight, like it's sugar. So there's just all these delighted elves behind you. What are some of the things that you notice? And like you can kind of like say what you notice, and I can like fill it in, or if you have an idea to add it.
I think Runa is busy trying not to appear nosy, but like desperately side-eyeing all of the buildings, like what's in there, what's up there. That looks fun to climb.
Yeah, you definitely notice there are things here that are in your grandmother's like archives and like libraries that are as like ancient treasures that are being used in day-to-day use. Like beautiful, incredible like tools and just like these amazing like writing implements and different things just about that you're like, oh, that's just like, oh, and it looks brand new and it's still being, oh, she's using that and just to work. Okay.
That's what that's for.
Yeah, things like that. Exactly. So things like that. So there's it's technology, but it's not technology as we think of it today, but it's a more advanced like culture than a lot of what is left in Middle Earth at this point. Even the humans, as we talked before, have lost a lot of what the elves still have. So
I think I'm going to notice how pristine kind of everything is. You know, it's not like Bree or Michael Delvin where there's sort of just a sheen of you know, pastoral, like a pastoral quality or an agrarian kind of quality to everything. Just everything looks pretty elegant. And you know, breezes blow up and you know, clothing kind of blows beautifully in the wind. And it's just I'm struck by just how different everything, like beautifully different everything is. And I'm also being put a little more at ease by kind of how, like, when I greet somebody and they don't turn their nose up on me and they give me a little something, you know, I'm kind of amazed at that, you know, just sort of that. And then I turn to Runa, I'm like, Runa, say it. They give you stuff. Give them a greeting. They give you stuff. Look at that.
Something.
Oh, here, I'll give you a few of the packages, like, you know, a few of the breads that I got. Like,
Oh, I love this bread.
yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, greet them. They give you stuff.
Oh, I'm just looking in the window.
it's amazing.
Completely, you know, culture shocked.
As part of that, you notice that, and apart from there not being like children, there's also not really animals.
Oh,
Like there's some beautiful horses and things like that in stables, and they remind you of kind of that first night when we were traveling and you met Nanelini
Oh,
and the horses that they were using for their pilgrimage to the Grey Havens. So there are a large number of beautiful horses that are here because horses don't go over to Valinor always. So they're here, but that's kind of the only animals you're seeing, and you're used to even in like the big cities like Bree and things like that, like people that drive hogs
Yeah,
through
they
the
drive
streets, or
livestock
they've
through.
got dogs and things like that. Ranyar is with you, which is also getting a lot of notice. Not so much like he's a very large dog, but also like, oh, hobbits and humans have dogs, so it makes sense that he's with you. So he gets if it had just been Erland with the dog, that would have gotten a lot of like, what is happening?
I would have gotten so many looks.
Yeah, but they're like, oh, look, they have a dog. Like people are interested, but it seems like that's something people expect from your other cultures. So
you mentioned that there are just shops or like providers of goods and services. Do they have things like wet markets or
not that you're seeing.
Okay, see, that's unusual too.
Yeah.
People plying chickens and geese kind of hanging from a wall or something like that.
Yeah,
None
no,
of that.
not
Wow.
yeah. A lot of the things that you'd notice you've been given are like they don't include meat
Yeah.
or animal products. They'll do eat meat,
Mhm.
but they tend to be much more like on the vegetarian, especially here by the ocean. They're very pescatarian. So there's a lot of fish that they eat, and you remember that from your other little adventure with the elves with Gohin.
Mhm.
Gohin?
Here.
Gohir. Okay, that's an R. And a lot of that. So you do like as you get closer to the harbor, you do see fishing vessels,
Mhm.
like stunning vessels with this like incredibly intricately braided netting, like that almost looks like pieces of art. It looks more like how the hobbit women like braid their hair
Mhm.
for like beautiful festival days, like intricate braids that weave in and out of each other. That is what it kind of reminds you of when you look at it, and it's very different than the regular kind of like right angles with
Functional kind of bare
exactly.
bones netting.
with like some like fixes and mends in it and stuff like that. It looks beautiful.
What's this salty smell here anyway?
It's the sea.
What?
Oh, right.
The sea.
Don't drink the seawater.
Don't drink. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you for the warning.
It is.
Branyar, don't drink the seawater.
Ranier looks at you like, of course not. This is not my first time at the ocean.
Okay, just making sure. She speaks to him like conversationally.
He gives back looks that make you feel like he knows what you're saying.
The sea is salted, unlike some food.
Sounds delicious.
You sure you can't drink it?
I wouldn't.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, elves know.
I've done it. Don't.
Oh, I definitely want to hear that story.
Oh, that's great. That is great. I love it.
It's just like a bunch of teenage elves sitting around like, drink it.
Oh my goodness.
All right. And Hanar, what is the thing you notice as you're walking through the city?
I think Hannah's specifically looking for like a jeweler, like
Oh.
someone that makes cut gems or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not on this road, that's totally fair. But like that's what he's keeping his eye out for.
Okay.
But aside from that, he's mainly focused on the people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yes, it's all impressive stone carving, but we just had an impressive stone carving adventure in Anuminus, and this is different, and it's beautiful, but it's also these people's home. So it's not like he can be like, oh, can I just borrow that brick and send it home so people can look at how it's done? Like, that's not what he's looking for. It's more like he's fascinated by all of these elves here, because, in his whole life, he's only met, like, 3. So it's a lot. And they seem so polite and happy that we're here. And I think he was expecting to be shunned a little bit.
Hmm.
You know, not that he's had that experience with Ireland, but the reputation in general is that, you know, elves, they're kind of their own thing. They live in their fancy tower, and the rest of us are just mucking around down here. And so, like, he was probably pretty worried that he'd get there and they'd all be like, is that a dwarf? I don't know. Especially since he's trying to be as polite and impressive as he can be. Like, he wants to try and that's why he's trying to give back presents as he goes. Like,
Aw.
he doesn't know any of these elves, but they're all very important in his head. Like, they all are on some kind of super important journey that he doesn't know about yet, but he wants to learn more. So
Very nice. There isn't a jeweler specifically on this road, but it's a large enough city, and you do see people wearing like impressive pieces. As a dwarf, even with one who isn't as talented as other dwarves in actually like using stones and metals, you can see that they're from a number of different places. So there are some that you can tell as more stuff that you've seen on elves as they've gone through Bree from Rivendell. Some of it has an aged look to it, still very carefully taken care of, but then some of it looks newer. So you can see like the age of the elves almost by like the jewelry that they're wearing, and all of its stunning quality. And every once in a while, you do see pieces that you think, is that beautiful dwarven work? I'm not sure, but maybe it's been brought here by trade. Maybe an elf was inspired by something that they'd seen or heard of the dwarves. But there's definitely a little bit of every once in a while you're like, I think I know that flavor a little. But absolutely, if you'd like to seek out a jewel smith, it is something you can very easily do.
that after,
Mhm.
like, I'm not making a side journey right now.
Yeah, you're just too close to the harbor at this point. I probably should have started with you, because if we'd started with you,
No, it's totally
Okay.
good. Like, I didn't expect, like, oh, well, this is obviously the street that has every vendor on it in a city this size. So,
Right.
yeah.
here on the dock, there's a ship that happens to be selling jewelry now.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of elves that have, like, a flea market.
Yeah.
On a boat.
It's a floating
Yeah.
market.
That'd be awesome.
So as you're getting closer to the harbor, the buildings kind of space out a little bit more. It now starts being more the large, they're not warehouses, but they're very large buildings that are built over sections of water for the building of these amazing ships. So as you walk by, you hear the crafting and hammering and sanding and sawing, and that comes with building these amazing ships. Some of these buildings have people who are sitting and weaving cloth that they're using for the sails, and you can see them kind of weaving the cloth and then sewing it into the correct shapes for these boats. And you can just kind of see the whole process here. And you realize, like, these boats don't come back. So every boatload that goes has to have a new boat.
It's a lot of boats.
It's a lot of
Mhm.
boats. So they're not, there's not like the elves who are like going and bringing them back every time. So, so they're having to make them all new for each group that goes. And this process going there. And as you get closer, there's like these very long, beautiful docks that you can see. They've got these sort of lanterns on the sides that come up about 3 feet. They're carved of wood, and they have like these beautiful, almost crystal. It's a formed glass, but it's made to look in the shape of a crystal that if it were nighttime, you could tell were meant to be lit with some sort of oil or something like that. And they're like every, like 8 to 10 feet down the dock on both sides. And then in between there are these very large, like if you like pegs. They're similar to what you'd see on a dock nowadays, where it's like it comes up.
Oh, the cleats.
Yeah, the cleats. Thank you. But these have almost like a twist to them that then branch off in two directions, almost like a tree or something like. They're almost organic in their design, and they're incredibly strong looking. Like you can tell that. Like any boat that is moored to this, the boat's probably going to break before this cleat will. And it all just has like this very unique styling as you go down. And these boats are on both sides. You can tell some as you get to the end of the dock, they kind of push the boats along. So they start in these large buildings. They go to the next one. Okay, this is where they attach, the masts here. Okay, now the sails get tied on here. And at the end of the dock is where like the ready ships are. So there's about 6 ships. There's like 3 on each side that look like they're about ready to go. And as you get closer, you can hear there's workers like almost like bees, like all over the different ships, listening to commands. And you can tell that there is this very tall elf in the middle of the dock with his back to you. Kind of like calling out commands, not barking them, but just like, please, da-da-da-da, and, hoist that higher, please attach, the masts must not give, and just like all these things. And all these elves are just immediately like heeding what he says. And almost in anticipation of what he says. It's like they've been doing this for thousands of years. Shocking. And that is we walking up, Ireland, and it is very clearly Lord Círdan's back that is to you.
Is that him?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, no pointing. That's probably weird.
Will you all stand shoulder to shoulder with me?
Of course. Shoulder to hip in my case.
Yes.
Runa takes that literally and is like next to you.
Shall we then?
As you get closer, you can see him kind of stop, and you can see him kind of tilt his head a little bit. And he goes quiet for a moment, and everyone's still working. Like, it's not like everyone's turned and look at you. They all obviously know what they're doing. They probably don't even need him to be giving them like orders or commands. They just know what to do. He turns around, and you see
The shipbuilding version of a really good orchestra.
yeah, exactly.
They all know what they're doing, but there's just a guy up front waving things around.
Yeah, basically. Especially after he's done this so many times
Yeah,
with
they're
them.
playing the same piece of music every day.
Every
Yeah.
day.
For thousands of years, yes. And around turns this very tall, very regal-looking elf, but still seems approachable. He is not of the same ilk that you saw in your visions, Hanar. He is not this otherworldly super being. Incredibly tall, very clearly an elf, ageless, has a magnificent beard. Long, beautiful, flowing, like goes down into a very nicely small braid at the bottom just to keep it nice in the wind, because he's out in the wind a lot because of the ocean. And it's gray. It's a little bit of gray that then goes down into like almost pure white. It's interesting because he's wearing this tunic that is a mix. It kind of fades between like dark blue and then kind of goes down to a lighter blue to almost like a green at the bottom. Almost if you were looking into like Mediterranean waters. At different depths, that's what the colors of his clothing are. And different small sashes and things, and beautiful embroidery, like little gold, edging, things like that. And his beard, almost at the bottom, like almost has like a little bit of a bluish quality to it. Like it goes to pure white, and almost just a little bit so white that it's almost blue. And you're just like, oh, okay. And he's looking very sternly.
Erlen bows his head, not at the waist, just shoulders up, bows his head. Hirnin.
As Erlen's bowing, like when Erlen's head is down, he looks at the rest of you and he gives you a big wink. But and then like immediately goes back to being stern when Erlen like brings his head up. Erlen, Megavanen, welcome back.
Magavanen, thank you for being available.
Of course, I will be here until the last elf leaves this land. Which right now, it's not impossible that it may be you, considering how you've been wandering
Yes,
without even saying goodbyes.
I knew you would be here.
That's not a good reason to not say goodbye.
Of course. My apologies. I was cold.
I understand.
These are my traveling companions. This is Runa and Beryl and Hannah. And Hannah is the one that has seen what I wrote to you.
Oh, indeed. You can tell, like, he's still trying to be very serious.
Mhm.
And the only reason the three of you know is because he gave you that wink. Like, if you didn't know, like, you'd be, okay, this is a very serious, very wise, very serious elf.
And Erland is all in on that.
Yeah. Like, he's been doing this to students for ages. So he can totally do the serious teacher look while he's, like, giggling inside. And he suddenly takes a very deep and gracious bow to the three of you. Welcome to Mithlin. We are honored to have you all here. Very carefully looking at everyone except Erland.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should find a place to discuss the events that have happened.
Oh, thank you, Lord Elf of the tall stature and downy beard.
Like his eyes are just sparkling, like just like sparkle eyes. Just like he's so delighted and so just like only eons of practice are keeping him from just being grinning.
And Erland is heavy breathing. Just trying to be so calm and just like, this is fine.
Yes. Let us return to the tower, if you would.
Thank you, Lord Kierden.
I assume, he looks at Tyndall, that they just came from there. And she just like nods. She also, like, she saw the wink and she doesn't know what to do now because she doesn't want to give it away. And she's like, just like awkward. She didn't like, yes, I will do nothing. I'll just stand here petrified because I don't know what to do. Why don't you run on ahead and prepare some refreshments, Tyndall? Okay, yes, I'll do that. And she looks straight at Erland and is like, oh gosh, I'm going to give it away. So she like looks down again, like awkwardly, and then like, not skitters, but for an elf, it's skittering. It looks like beautiful, graceful, like a deer, like prancing and leaping through a meadow. But to elves, it's like, she's in a
She's very
We speak the same language.
yeah, a little bit of a hot mess there. Okay.
Yeah.
So you head back up at a much more leisurely pace. Like he is taking the lead. And he's, as you're walking through the city, he's pointing things out to you like a tour guide almost. You can tell he is a teacher. Like he likes teaching things. He likes explaining things. He loves that the three of you don't know anything about any of this because he's not used to that. So he's like explaining different parts of the architecture and why these were put here because he was here when it was all built, and was in fact in charge of all of it. So this is his city. This is his place, and you can tell like he's just kind of glowing with pride. But also you can tell as he's like reminiscing and telling you things that it's not a sadness because he is not sad that the elves are leaving Middle Earth. He is glad it's happening. He believes in it. He looks forward to leaving one day when his like sacred task is what he sees it is over. And so as we're walking through, he tells you things, but you can tell like there were times where this was very bustling. And the stories he tells are of a kind of the pinnacle of this place. And that is kind of past, and he has a nostalgia.
There's sort of a wistfulness to
Yeah.
to this.
He misses his friends who are gone. He knows he will see them again. Like for certain. It's not like a religious maybe. Like he knows they're there. Like they are still there. Like they are I want to make this super clear. Like while Valinor is like heaven, it is not. People are not dying. They're literally taking a trip. It's
called the Undying Lands
Yeah.
for a reason.
Exactly. So this is not while there's a little bit of the flavor of people who believe like in an afterlife and they'll see their families again, this is much more assured. Like, no, I will see them again soon. It's going to be a little while, but I also will live forever. So it's not that long. That sort of kind of interesting wistfulness.
What's the elf general belief about like elves that die?
Yeah. Elves
I mean,
that
just the super short version.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's-
sure it's probably very complicated, but
not super.
Not really.
Elves who
okay.
die go to the halls of Mandos. Their spirits who go there, and eventually they are reborn. So,
so they just queue up to be elves again.
basically,
Okay.
there are a few exceptions. Those are very sad stories. But for the most part, you go to Valinor in your body, or you go to Valinor out of your body, and are eventually like brought back. So unless you decide to stay in Middle Earth, and then you will, and then you will become mortal. And no one knows what happens to the spirits of men or dwarves or hobbits. That is something that is beyond the knowledge of even the Valar, most people think. So it is something that Iluvatar, who's like the high god of Arda, he knows and he's made it. But even the Valar, which are kind of like the pantheon below him, aren't quite sure what happens. There's lots of stories, and the dwarves have like a whole bunch of theories.
Sure.
Yeah, but men are just like, exactly. So yeah, again, like elves are the one people who like we know exactly what happens no matter what happens to us. Everyone else is like, hopefully good. We'll see. I think I got all that right. Did I get that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think as Kierden is talking about all of this and Erland is listening, the more nostalgic he gets, the more Erland looks to the sea.
And Erlen did grow up here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had ever seen a child, the most recent child would have probably been Erland.
Yeah.
And that was
A while ago.
a little over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just getting that kind of, you're going back basically the same route, slightly different. You do notice through this route, like as you get closer to like his tower, which is kind of in the center of things. It's not quite like, town hall or something, but very obviously when he designed the city, he liked the view from here or something like that. And things were kind of planned outward from there. As you're walking, you do see everything's in Sindarin, but what is very clearly a jewel smith off to the side, like as you're going back up kind of to the tower.
I'll just keep it in mind.
Okay.
I have absolutely been trying to jot notes this whole walk.
Okay.
Like I'm just like he points at something and I like do a horrible sketch and I write down stuff about it.
Well, you do notice as he's noticed this, he's taking a little bit longer. He'll pause a little longer, and he won't fill it because he doesn't want to make you feel awkward, but he'll kind of just take a little longer telling the story. And you just only because you know him so well, Erland, you can see that he's kind of glancing to make sure the dwarf is
Getting the
done.
notes.
Oh, yeah, getting everything done and drawing it a little nicer. He's a good teacher. So you make it back up. He doesn't knock. He just opens the door of the tower. Very casually, he holds it open for you and kind of makes a sweeping motion with his arm to come enter. And inside there's A beautiful hallway with like pretty elven like statues and like murals on the wall that if you look very closely, they're actually incredibly fine mosaics that are almost so small, like the pieces are almost so small that unless you like really get close, you can't see it. It looks like it's been like painted almost. And if you look very closely, a lot of it is precious stones or shells and different things like mother of pearl, things like that. All semi-precious, nothing like, there's not like rubies sticking in the wall. But it shows, in this hallway, it shows the back of the hallway, which is the side of Middle Earth, shows like uh, basically a smaller version of where you are, the Grey Havens, with his tower. And at the top of the tower in the mural, there's like a circle you can see, and then it goes down, and then there's beautiful ships along the sides of the wall, and then you can see like around the door when you turn back to look at it, there's what looks like the most beautiful city you could ever think of. Like, this is a beautiful city, and you've been to Anuminus, and you're just like, okay, these are all these beautiful cities, but this looks like if someone took those cities and dipped them in like pure silver and just like beyond anything you could think of, with like this golden kind of light shining around them. And so like his mural is basically showing the travel from the Grey Havens to Valinor. And his door, which faces Valinor, is like his reminder every day of what his divine task is. And then past that, there's a surprisingly like humble, very comfortable sitting room with a fireplace and very nice carved furniture, but with very comfortable pillows on it. It's what you I mean, other than it being very elvish in style, like this, you're not afraid to sit on this stuff. Like, it's like beautiful, but you're like, oh, this is a comfortable room. It does not make you feel like, oh, I have to sit nicely. I can't touch things. I'll break it. Like, it's a chill sitting room. And there's some trays on these little tables in between. There's like a couch and a couple large chairs sitting about. There's like an easel with large paper on the side. You can tell that he's just been like sometimes draws and paints on there. And this is kind of like his like hangout room. Beautiful fireplace. And he comes, come sit. And there's these lovely goblets with like bottles of wine on these tables. Please help yourselves. Please help yourselves.
May we speak freely here?
Of course.
We have it with us.
He looks like genuinely like he drops his kind of act for a moment. You have it with you.
We carry with us a palantir.
Like, elves don't do spit takes. They're way too chill and like graceful for that. But like almost. That is what gave that dwarf the vision?
Apparently, yes. We found it as part of a horrible creature that we defeated, and my curiosity led me to discovering it within.
He sits back, and in an incredibly dwarvish like mannerism, he kind of strokes his beard and like is like lost in thought. And you found one of the lost ones.
Sealed inside a creature of darkness, living beneath the seas of Anuminus.
Well, if one were to be found, it is not surprising that it was such. The stones have gone quite dark of late. Even I hesitate. I used them only to reach the west. Any creature that came across one, and you say
When it was found, the sea creature consumed it, and it became part of itself.
even if it had simply been a normal creature, having eons of the Palantir inside it with the darkness that now touches them would corrupt and warp any creature. It may, in fact, be why such a beast came into being.
Well,
I. Might I see it?
We were given the impression that we shouldn't let it see.
I see.
I'm happy to show you. You would know far better than I, but I don't know if we need to take any precautions.
Who
Or-
gave you such counsel?
A fortune teller.
He seems a little bit surprised.
Mhm.
It's strange that any such person would know even of the Palantir. Is wise counsel.
He did seem to know more than he let on.
Interesting.
They traveled the lands quite frequently, it seemed. There's a gentleman named Laren.
And this, and Erlen pats the dog's head. This is his companion.
Mhm.
He looks at it, and Ranier's kind of looking back a little, like, not suspiciously, but like, I'm a regular dog.
Yep. Just like friendly dog pat.
Yeah.
Erlen definitely knows how to pet dogs.
Yeah,
That is
like-
a big negative.
Like, Ranier is like usually like very into. He kind of like, "Arr," and kind of scratches his ear and like is looking around. Maybe he didn't know better. Like Ranier is playing dog.
Act casual.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You're doing really good.
Sure.
Yeah, and Kieran kind of looks at him for a moment. Is possible, like he looks straight at Erland, that this is a being of darkness who is sent. Did he send you to find the Palantir?
No, he
Oh,
was quite alarmed that we did find it and surprised.
That is true. But he did. He never really sends us anywhere, actually.
You've had repeated interactions with this fortune teller,
He's the reason we met.
and he's a human.
As far
Never
as
really
I
thought
know,
about it.
yeah.
Never
Seems like
thought
it.
much.
Yeah, it seems like a everyday wandering traveler.
But he
Friend
does
of
have
Ranyar.
knowledge older than one would assume.
His
Perhaps
eyes
he was a scholar.
And a fortune teller. Could be.
I mean, he's an older human. He would have had time to learn things.
that makes it like Kieran's like very serious, like smirks a little. Very old human.
Still like two.
Yes. Well, we will perhaps return to this topic shortly. I'm not concerned. For as far as I know, I have used Palantir many times. I myself own one. Well, don't own one, but I am the keeper of one until the day I take it back to the Undying Lands. If one of the darkness were to see me through it, they would see a different room, but in all my days of looking through them, I have never been able to tell which Palantir I was seeing through. I could see where it was, but it is not like they can be identified other than by recognizing their location. So I think if I were to use one, and even if a being of darkness were to see me through it, they may just simply assume that I had used my own and brought it to a different location. And pretty much everyone knows where I am. Even the beings of darkness. Been here quite some time. And
There
he
were
kind of,
many beings of darkness.
oh, Ireland. Here in the Grey Havens, so many of your young brothers and sisters, and he says that in like the general like kin of like our people sense, never experience what is truly in this world. They see nothing more than our lovely shores. They may wander a bit, but most come back almost immediately, thinking that they have seen what really is of this world. I am so proud of what you have accomplished, and I am so sorry of the marks that it will leave on you. He reaches out and he puts his hand on your shoulder. But I truly believe, my young friend, that when you choose to sail to Valinor, the time there will be even sweeter because you've truly known the darkness of this land and the beauty of this land.
But how can one leave when there's growing darkness?
Some may not. I myself will stay, come what may, until the last of our kind who wants to leave does. Whether that is this year or in 1,000 years or in 3,000 years, some of us will wait. Some of us will raise our arms in defense of this world. Others will leave without so much as an afterthought to what is happening. Each must choose their own course. And you, my young friends, it's been quite some time since I've had such an audience as this. I cannot. And he's just got like a grin, even though it's like a very serious circumstance and like the Palantir is like a very serious thing. He's like the chillest anyone you've met has been about a Palantir. He's like, okay, that's amazing. You found it. Cool. I know how to use it. It's fine. And I am delighted that Erland has gotten to revel so much in your company, for his long life will be enriched forever by his memories of you.
As our short ones are by him.
Mhm.
You have found wise friends, Erland.
Very. They've taught me much.
Lord Elf. It has been brought to our attention how urgent and how grave this Palantir is. What should we do with it? Are you able to take this off our hands and keep it safe?
Let me see it first. He reaches over and he takes, there's like throw blankets and like anything to make it more comfortable in here. So he grabs this beautifully woven, like stunning, like it looks like a tapestry in a fine, like Brie home would be, but it's literally just like the blanket that he like probably covers himself when it's a little cold. So he picks it up. What have you been carrying it in?
Kind of reach around my back and pull this thing out and then uncover it.
He's gonna like cover it, like as you he's gonna let you undo the little clasp, and then he's gonna cover it before you actually open the pearl piece.
Sure.
So when you open it, it is covered by this blanket. May I?
Oh, of course. I will say, I have a little bit of experience with it myself now. And it seemed to not purposefully cause distress.
Indeed. It is It is a tool. As your axe. Your axe can use to cleave humans and do great harm. But we also use our axes to build these beautiful ships and to harvest the wood. So it can be used for good or ill, either way. The darkness that permeates them, he looks sad for a moment, is not of their making. It is others using them for ill. And he lifts it so that like you are not shown. And and you can tell he's kind of positioned himself so it's like kind of a blank part of a wall. Like it's just like, he's not worried about people knowing where he is, but he also is very clearly not wanting you to be seen in what it is. And you can see he kind of puts his hand on it for a second, closes his eyes, and he takes a breath. And then stops for a moment. And he covers it back up. It's a true Palantir that you have found. There are some that were lost at sea. We'll do some research and see which one this may have been. I must think on it. I think that having two here is not the right choice.
Oh.
They are tools that can be used for great good, but also great evil. I feel as though it may have come to you for some greater purpose. We will put it away for this evening. It will be safe here. We will have a merry evening. You will rest yourselves, eat well. Tell me your tales of your adventures. I will tell you some of mine. And then tomorrow, we will address the great question of the Palantir. Does this sound well to you?
That sounds excellent. How do you feel about seeing a haunted birdcage?
His
Can I
eyes-
touch your mural?
Yes,
Okay.
you may touch the mural, but I'm sorry. Could we go the haunted birdcage?
Yes.
Mhm.
Pulls it out. Immediately.
Okay, wait.
Does the mural
Mhm.
mosaic
Mhm.
of Valinor, does it look right compared to what I remember seeing?
The trees are not there,
Oh.
but parts of it are. Like the city is. It's a mosaic version of it, but
Sure.
it is what you remembered. But the trees are very clearly absent. Because yeah,
It's not like somebody got it wrong.
no.
Or it's like an artist rendition of.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Like it is almost uncanny.
Okay.
Which like you kind of like reflect back and you're like, okay, even though he like, well, you may not know that he's never been there. Like, you don't know how this works, but for those of you watching at home, he does use the Palantir. He's able to see bits of people's like visions and stuff from Valinor. Like this is one of the ways Valinor communicates with this world. Is basically Kieran uses his stone, and there's one also in Valinor, and so that's like their call line. So so it is very accurate. But yeah, you do notice like the trees are not there. Has it been told to you? Have you talked about the trees? I think
I mentioned that they're gone at
Mhm.
some point.
Yes. Yeah. We
Yeah.
talked about that.
mhm.
That like the.
Oh yeah, we talked because you gave me
yeah.
the drawing when I told you the story. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So that kind of just brings home to like how special it was that you saw these trees, because you realize all these elves will never see what you saw, including Círdan. Like there are incredibly long-lived, forever-lived elves of great birth and great majesty that didn't get to see what you basically saw with your own eyes. It's very special.
So cool.
So you bring it The creepy birdcage.
Oh, immediately show me the haunted birdcage. Look what other treasure we have.
Yeah.
This time he's like horrified. He's like, put that away.
Yeah, he pulls a layer and like, no.
Throws the tapestry over his head.
Yeah. He like again, like he's like he has like this age, like you can tell he's just ageless and he's older than like pretty much anything you've ever seen. But he's got like this like twinkle and this like childlike almost like delight in things. Like he loves this world, and I mean maybe that plays into why he wants to be the last boat to leave. Like maybe he does love this place too. So he like takes it and this is incredible. And he like winds it up and he plays it.
Careful.
Okay.
A ghost did come out of that.
A ghost. And like please tell me the story. We don't have to like
Yeah, we
recap the whole story.
regale him
Yeah, you
with
like
the...
as he listens to it and like winds it again and like looks at it from all these angles. This is lovely. This is not quite Elendil's treasure, but close to it. You are quite lucky.
Thank you.
I believe that is part of that was a gift to King Avendui.
That is what we understand about it, yes.
Yes. Quite very interesting. You're very good at finding interesting things, my friends.
You should see my family's archive.
They're
That's where this is going.
very attuned to doing such things.
Where is your family's archive?
In Bree.
It's not too far from here.
With an impressive, if not disorganized, library.
Sometimes it's organized by color
Mm.
or mood.
Mm.
My grandmother is a little eccentric.
I have been called similar. Well, I will not disregard this invitation. I would like very much to see your family's archive.
Please do.
So yeah, you spend an incredibly pleasant evening with what is probably like one of the most down to earth, like other than Erland, like elves you've ever met.
Maybe a little more down to earth than Erland.
Yeah. Like stroking his beard and like things like that. Are there anything specific that you'd want to talk about or ask him? Or do you just want to like enjoy the evening?
I think like I mean this is the first for me certainly. So I'd be inclined to just enjoy the evening.
Okay.
I do tell him of our failed boat
Oh sure, yeah.
in quite a bit of detail, including a lot of ship's terms and a little bit of laughing and like self-ribbing, which is something that Erland did not do before going out on this journey in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, just, saying that we built one of our own ships, but with the hands of the people of Middle Earth, and like tells them the whole story about going to Enuminus and the whole thing, basically just full download.
Yeah, he's an incredible listener. Like just takes it all in and just like the right quips in the right places and a little bit of like gentle ribbing, like and it's sank, huh? Oh, and then you lost your helmet. How unfortunate. But I do see that you've got new ones and like just very pleasant evening, very good food. And you find yourselves feeling like more at peace than you have in a while. You may not even have like realized like the tense, like carrying this thing around, like has kind of just like made you feel a little unsafe. Even before Laren's dramatic reaction. But especially since then. So this journey, even though it was an easy journey compared to many that you've made, was very tense, especially with what had happened at the ruins and the beast that was following you. Oh yeah, I forgot that in the recap. On their trip, there was a large something in the dark that was following them.
That
So,
could fly, jump, question mark?
Question mark.
yeah,
Real good at jump.
yeah. And Kieran does seem a little like concerned with that piece.
And Erland does like go into detail and tries to get those who saw it even clearer to go in more detail because he never quite leaves. He's a dog with a bite and something that he just won't let go of. He
Yeah.
keeps on talking about that.
Yeah. Kieran doesn't seem to have any suggestions for what it is. As wise as Círdan is, and as much as he experienced Middle Earth, he hasn't really gone very far for quite some time. So he knows a lot about it, but it's lots of book smarts at this point. Dave, you're sitting down with like one of the oldest elves in Middle Earth.
I think I probably spent some time talking about beard care.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
An
yeah.
iconic moment.
Show off your bag, your beard bag.
Yeah, I would be like, oh yeah, silk. You know, it keeps them from getting wound up at night. You know, it's terrible, especially on the road.
Oh, on the road, yes. Yeah. He seems like fascinated.
So, and then like discussions of like, don't use these oils. Terrible after a couple of days, and you have to
Yeah.
wash the whole thing. It's a whole day's effort.
Yeah. And he talks about some of his stuff, and he's got like this like tonic that is similar to like what you use, but it has a very different smell to it, and like just that sort of thing. And he talks about how he braids his and things like that. So yeah, he's very interested in that conversation.
You were the only person
Yeah.
that he ever gets to have a conversation with.
Absolutely, he's very excited to talk to someone about his beard and your beard and what beards and beards. Our beard's great.
We get it. You have a beard. You're cool.
Yeah, so he loves that conversation. So absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like Runa is like, well, especially because of how old Lord Círdan is compared to her. She's that kid that wants to show you her like backpack and tell you what character it is. She's like, look at these treasures. This is where I found this one, and this is what I think this is. What's that thing on your desk? I have one of those in the archive. I don't know what it does.
And he's very patient, and he like, oh well, this, and and if you oil this, it'll start working right away. The one you have at home.
Oh, it moves.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought it was a paperweight.
It's not a paperweight.
That's so cool. My grandmother's gonna be so excited.
And just like little things. He talks to you of things in the Shire. And he's fascinated by the thought of it's probably just like never occurred to him that hobbits have sheriffs and like legal systems and things like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just like sort of fascinating. Elves don't really do that.
Yeah.
They tend to wage war on each other, and like they have like these many kings, and they've sort of like dwindled down enough that like they don't really mess with each other. Like there's just not really those problems anymore because there's not that many elves left, and everybody kind of knows each other.
And if there was a war at one point, they just seethe.
Yeah.
And they take it with them to Valinor like good, healthy elves.
Yes.
Actually, I'm gonna if there is a moment and there is still some decent sunlight, I'm gonna ask if we're in a tower, if there are any balconies facing eastward, and if Lord Círdan is interested at all in talking about the Shire, I'll like kind of point over that way in that general direction, and I'll just kind of run my mouth off telling tales of,
Oh, yeah, and over there, those are the hills that the kids all, our children, every year they got this celebration where they wrap ribbons around themselves and they roll down the hill, and the ribbons kind of form these beautiful little patterns as they roll. And it's a lovely, lovely sight. And,
I kind of just talk about little hobbit traditions and things like that.
He is fascinated talking about children right there.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, and the idea of packs of children is something that he just is like fascinated by, and just seems so delightful to him. And he pictures it almost like groups of swallows like flying together.
Sure.
Because he's known many children in his time. Individually, one at a time. Maybe if there's twins, like maybe two children at a time, which is like, oh, they play together? It's great. That's wonderful. But like the idea that there's like 20 kids in a village of ranging from like mewing babe to like, angsty almost teenager is just like fascinating to him. And he loves the idea of them running around and braiding and playing with pinwheels and all these things. Like, and you can just see him like soaking up this idea in his head. And he really likes that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, you finish off a very pleasant evening. And he escort you to very comfortable, like sleeping chambers down at the kind of near the base of the tower. You've never actually probably stayed in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like,
Mm.
I might go home.
I mean, if you'd like
Mm.
to.
Yeah, not that anyone's moving in there, so.
hmm So he'll give you that option. Like you can stay here, or if you'd rather with your own accommodations, Erlen.
I could return. There's some things that I could probably do with. And you're all welcome to come, or you're welcome to stay here. There are more beds here than there are in my home.
Who needs a bed?
I would love to.
I would love to see your abode.
Yeah, I would like to see where you grew up.
If you don't mind, I would like to stay here.
Absolutely. I promise the bed will be much more comfortable here.
This place feels weighty.
Mm.
We may be on the surface, but it feels heavy.
Then we
Sure.
will see you in the morning.
Keep your eyes on that stone now, eh?
Oh, I'll keep it as safe as I can.
Indeed. Well, I'll see you all on the morrow. It was a delight speaking with all of you. Have a good rest, and I will see you when we break our fast in the morning.
As we get up and leave, I'll tug on your outfit. And I'll say,
Well, how do you say goodnight?
You say Namarie.
and I will say that as best I can.
Namarie, dear Hobbit. Have a good evening. Now, do you want to keep talking with him, Hanar? We don't have to act it out, but like,
If he doesn't seem like he's going right off to bed, then I'd probably spend some time talking to him about the things I saw.
oh yeah.
Like, just kind of going through the notes that I've
Mhm.
taken and tried to show him the little sketches of things that I did. And like, I'll go up and I'll hold up the tree in the spot where I saw it in his mural
Mhm.
and be like, it was
Oh.
like about there, I think. And, just
Yeah.
kind of go through all of that stuff and be like, it was a lot in a very short amount of time. And the longer it goes, the more it seems like a dream, but it doesn't fade.
Indeed. That is the strangeness of the Palantir. While our own memories do fade, the visions that we see through the stone do not. For you, that may be a bit of a blessing. You did see some beautiful things. And you can see for just a moment, like, a little bit of envy and wistfulness, like, oh. But for your friends, it may not be such a blessing. Have
No.
they slept much on the way since touching the stone?
Not. They both seem disturbed by their experience more than I. Nothing. I didn't have any ill effect, but both of them seemed very upset.
You were quite fortunate that you thought to ask the stone about where it came from. For the stones, when pointed to the west, are bright lights. Those that are pointed elsewhere show the great darkness that is growing in this world. Fortunately, both Erland and Runa, they did not know. They may never fully recover from what they saw. Did not wish to ask them of it, but I have seen it as well. But to see the trees, Master Dwarf,
Can we not use that light and shine it on the darkness? Push it away?
it's like very wistful sadness that comes off his face. The last of the trees was turned into the sun and moon, my friend.
Hmm.
The last flower from Lorien now burns brightly in the sky during the day, and the last leaves of Tilperion were turned into the bright moon that shines. They do as much as they still can push away the darkness. But just think of that. A single flower off the tree is what lights the world now. What beauty it must have been to see the trees in their prime. Master Dwarf, you will have to try to compose songs and make art and inspired by such beauty, for so few remain who ever saw it. I myself was not so lucky. And I feel like you and him like stay up to like the wee hours of the morning, just having this like deep conversation where he's asking you about things and then like telling you the story behind things, some of which like was stuff Erlen didn't even know. Just all these little bits of things and like personal anecdotes with some of the stuff, and like you just have like your elf dream conversation like all evening.
Sure.
Is there any other specific information that you'd like? We don't have to roleplay it unless you'd
No.
like to. Okay.
Now I have questions, but they're all out of character. They're not things that
You
would
can
occur
ask a
to-
couple of those. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, now I'm curious about, like, what's the status of, like, eclipses?
Oh, it's
Here. Like, what's the deal with that? Like, do they get to meet? Like, they used to grow next to each other. Are they very upset that they're so far apart?
well, they were
now?
cast into the sky.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So the trees were destroyed by a giant poison spider.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
normal.
Normal. Totally normal.
Did somebody take care of that, or did somebody should be?
There's war,
Yeah.
We should.
lots of war.
Okay.
Yeah. So Golian's not a problem. Shelob comes later. but-
Her kids, however.
her kids, yeah. Like in like as they were dying, they saved like the last leaf and the last bloom, and that's what the Valar turned into the sun and the moon. So they're kind of like reflections, pale reflections of what the trees were to the world. So yeah, that's your out of character answer. Big creepy spider kills everything.
Cool.
But, also personal trivia, Lorien, the golden tree.
Yeah.
What I named my kid. So, Laura Lynn. Oh, sorry, yeah, Laura Lynn. I'm sorry, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Laura Lynn is the golden tree. Lorien is a derivative of that same root. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's a long thing. But yes.
Linguistically, they are very
Linguistically,
similar.
yes. Telperion and Laurelin are the trees. Telperion is the silver tree that becomes the moon. Laurelin is the golden tree that is the sun. And they were brought into being by the beautiful songs of a goddess. So I'm a dork, and I've had that name in my head for a very long
So
time.
beautiful.
A lot longer than I've been planning to get. Okay, anyway. I'm done. We can go now.
You did very good.
All right. Let's go and have a scene in your house. Can you tell us what your house looks like?
It, for probably your two eyes, this is a beautiful, elegant abode. It is a seaward facing near the ship docks, small home, 2 stories, nothing, extravagant. But it's one of the many buildings like the ones that we passed that was just sealed and left. And no one's touched it, as far as I know. But in there, you see that there's a lot of things in pairs. 2 chairs, 2 goblets, a table that faces the sea right at the edge of a small balcony with just 2 chairs. And not a lot has changed, probably in a very long time. And so there's not like food or anything in here. And it's just kind of, there's an emptiness to it. It's elegant and beautiful, but there's not drawings of family members. There's not sculptures of anything that aren't ships. There's a lot of ship stuff. There's lots of books, as you would expect for him. There's a lot of books in a logical order. And they've been like covered with some fabric. There's a loom in the corner, but it's a small loom with nothing on it. And outside of that is just sparse. But he enters and lights a lamp, puts a bit of oil in a lamp very easily and lights it, and just gentle glow. Think Mediterranean villa looking out to the sea kind of energy, but sparse and elven and very empty.
I'm going to say that the same vibe you get through the city of like people who were here are missing is very acute and very personal in this space. So it's not just like general people are gone. There are important, specific people who are missing from this space. And you get that vibe like immediately when you walk in.
Well, there are 2 beds upstairs. You're welcome to them.
Oh, if it's all right with you, I wouldn't mind setting up my hammock somewhere if there's a place.
The balcony right here would be a lovely spot for
I
it, actually.
run to the balcony because I want to sleep by the sea. Like
And
I
it
want
is a
to
view
hear the waves. And when you said seaward facing home, I was like, "Oh, that is just what my little hobbit-hearted wanted."
And it looks
wanted.
over, like the docks are a little bit more towards the exit, towards the actual of the bay. And it's just a beautiful view of, to the left there are the towering cities that the city that we just walked through, and then ahead of you is like right where the city becomes forest. And you can see that the sun would set like beautifully over the water right here. It is a very, very stunning view.
Yeah, I just revel at everything. And I turn to you and I say,
Runa, of course, if you want, you could take that other bed. I would like you to be comfortable.
Oh, thanks, Sausage.
Oh, it's been a long travel for all of us. I think we've all. It's also been kind of a lot to take in. I'm not gonna lie.
That's true. I think before we turn in, I'd love to share a drink with you guys. And Ireland, if you don't mind, I'd love a tour of your home.
Oh, of course. I regret that I only have what we brought with us to drink.
Oh, don't worry. I brought something
course.
from
"Yeah,
my
I
grandmother's
think
store.
we were
Perfect.
already." Yeah.
Here, let me get us some glasses. And he goes and he literally has 2 matching glasses and then pulls a third mismatched glass. Here you go. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll pour everybody a drink.
Yeah, yeah. I'll certainly partake in a drink, and I'll pull out my my road worn lute, and I'll start kind of just plucking out a little melody, to the rhythm of the waves. Start maybe humming a tune, to kind of go with. I hear the different bird songs and the seagull cries, and I sort of key in on those sounds.
I think Runa will join you and like
Yeah.
start humming after a few minutes.
Yeah.
The music, definitely. Erland was so wound tight during that entire conversation with Kieran, even though he was so chill. And Erland just got more and more just like wound up, and being here did not make it better, but the music just kind of melts it away. And maybe a little bit of the wine.
Did you ever tell us about, this important person of yours who
Probably
left?
not.
That's what I was wondering about. That. I'll actually, if it's all right with you, like as I kind of, as we'll sing a few bars. I'll pluck a few notes and just kind of having the lute underscore the conversation. I'll ask like,
And notice there's 2 of everything. It was meant for a couple of people.
Yes. My partner sailed.
Oh.
Yes.
I'll sing a little verse about that. About saying goodbye to someone on those boats, on one of those boats. And I'll pause and I'll say,
Did you get to say goodbye?
Yes. He knew. He knew it was time. His name is Marin.
Mm. You'll say Marin again.
Yes, I will. It has been quite a while. And it will be a while still.
Wow. The loot stops for like a second because I never thought elves could like be that affected by time. You know, elves have always just been this ancient, like kind of aloof and almost unconcerned, folk. And then something sinks in, when you speak that way. And I start playing my lute again, and this time it's at halftime with the waves. And my notes like that I hum out are just they're a little lower and they're a little more languid.
We are told that there is a time that that the sea calls and you can only answer. That is why this journey is happening. The call has come. For many, not for me. But I think when I left, I was ready for new faces.
I am most honored to be one of those faces, my friend.
Yeah.
I think the honor is mine.
I'll sing a verse about
It is hard to say goodbye to those that you live with. But for those you've just met, at least you don't have to say bye yet.
Well, it warms not only my heart, but these walls to have you all here and to smile and laugh and music. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend, for having us here.
Yeah. I've had you at my place for quite some time, many times, and this is absolutely wonderful.
It is a beautiful home.
Thank you for the sea.
It was not mine to give, but I'm grateful you're all here and that you enjoy it, and that Lord Kieran was receptive to our asking.
There is that. It is still a dangerous thing for us to have this strange object. Well, I suppose that is something we shall have to talk about in the morning.
It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say about where it may have come from, where it may have been intended to go.
Indeed.
Maybe it came to us so we could get it where it needs to go.
It's time for my midnight snack, it seems.
It's been almost 2 hours since you've eaten.
I could go for a snack. I think you've got me on a hobbit's eating schedule.
Comes with the traveling together, don't it? Would you like to eat at the docks, Erland? If you don't mind. I mean, you can come and join us if you would like to spend some time here in your home. It's been a while. I'd understand.
I think I'll leave you to it. I will take a moment. Maybe uncover some furniture.
Well, I'll happily offer some help when we come back.
Go enjoy.
But I would like to eat some food and look at the sea.
Yeah, I'll grab a pack of the stuff that we got, actually. The snacks that we got.
And I'll say,
This one smells particularly, and you hear us kind of like talking about these as we walk out the door. We'll find a nice spot somewhere where we can just kind of like sit at the water, watch the moon glinting off the waves.
Lovely.
Did Ranyar stay in the tower, or did he come with us?
No, I think he went with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I fed him up.
Yeah. Yeah, he did not want to spend more time with Kierden, like looking at him than yeah, nope. He noped out of that real fast. Can I have both of you scoot just a little closer?
Oh, yes.
I think you've gotten a little far away from the mics.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So Ranyar's there and he enjoys the singing, and he seems like super excited about kind of being by the ocean too.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So,
yeah.
but when the two of you go down to eat, he does stay with Erland.
Oh,
And just kind of be like curled up, like I'm sure there's a fire for warmth,
Mhm.
and he just kind of curled up, but just kind of keeping an eye and just being like a presence for you, so you're not totally alone.
Lovely.
Yeah, the way doggos and pets do. They just kind of know, and they're like,
They
I'm gonna
know.
be near you. Yes. So, all right, we're gonna kind of end that with like you having a second or third dinner. I feel like everyone's up super late, but it's like very enjoyable, relaxing up late.
Yeah.
So no one gets like a super early start probably the next morning.
Yeah.
Kierden, just because, ageless elf of the sea, shipwright, like, but he's like very respectful. He doesn't he's not loud at all and things like that.
I didn't imagine he would wake up and be just clattering around his tower. Like,
Knocking. Are you up, Master Dwarf? No, like none of that.
no, it's passive aggressive. Like he's just making coffee very loudly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
We all know that.
Mhm.
that person. Yeah, so you all kind of wake up when the sun hits kind of a certain point in the sky. It's almost as if like these buildings are designed for the light to come in at like a very specific time in the morning and wake people up. It just seems like the rooms are designed for that sort of as a very natural alarm clock. And no matter which room in the house you're in, unless you're like in the back rooms, but it seems like all like the actual living area for the most part is seaward and like with windows facing the sea, because why wouldn't you do that? And the entire city's kind of built in like around this harbor in a way where pretty much every building has beautiful views of everything, and they're kind of stacked in rows, kind of like what you've seen in like Italian cities around ports where it's just like built up into the hillside, but beautiful elvish architecture. So yeah, you all kind of wake up pleasantly. You've been drinking elvish wine, so you're not hungover. All those things.
is that a thing?
Sure.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know how Mirkwood gets anything
Yeah.
done. Erlen goes and acquires like some breads and things for the morning and like has them all set out when everyone wakes up and is lightly hosting awkwardly as they are.
I think Runa comes down. She has climbed onto the roof of your house and is looking at the
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the sea is beautiful. It's like bright early morning. Now you're looking west, so the light's kind of coming from behind you and like rippling across the waves. And it's just like the whole city has the feeling if you just looked hard enough, you might be able to see Valinor. You can't. But it's just like everything about the city is pointed at a destination out there. And you can just kind of feel it once you like really realize it. And especially after walking through Kierden's Hall, you just like feel how like everything in the city is looking westward. Yeah, and it's just beautiful morning. These beautiful gulls are flying about. And harmonic. I feel like their cries are like in chords, where it's like how people have wind chimes and some of them are actually like in like harmonic chords, so they like sound good together.
Yeah.
Like their cries are sort of like that versus like regular gulls that are just like the wind chimes that are just like a bunch of random chimes that like still are pretty but like not the same.
I'm in with a xylophone and just banging on it.
Yeah.
Goals. And there's breakfast set out, and Erland mostly like once your hammock is down, spends the entire breakfast like on that spot. Like this is where I go. This is the breakfast spot.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we'll join you,
Mhm.
and then I think I'm curious to see how Hannah's night turned out too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's go see how Hannah's doing.
I think on the way, Runa asks you what those birds are. 'Cause she's like, even your seagulls are fancy. What are those?
And I tell you all about the bird.
Yeah.
I think in the morning, I probably spend some time talking to whoever's there. Like, if Kieran goes off and does business, I'm not going to hold him up.
Mhm.
But, like, if Tyndall's there, I would talk to her and be like, so let me ask you a couple of questions. You've been around the shipbuilding enterprise for a long time.
Oh, no, not very long. Only about a little over 2,000 years.
Wonderful. That's perfect.
Very long.
So you've seen several ships made.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful. I have some questions about harvesting wood for the ships.
Oh, yes, I know a bit about that. It's not really my area of expertise, but I might be able to answer your question.
So, is the wood stored for a while? Seasoned first? Is it
Oh, yes.
fresh? So it still has the sap of the wood in it when you begin to work, or
She gets like the look on her face of like the teacher's pets when like they're asked a question and they're like ready to raise their hand. Oh, I know the answer to that. And they're just like so excited you asked them a question because they're going to show everything they know. It's a little obnoxious, but like this is sort of a little bit more. Like, you're like, oh, okay, that's why some people don't like elves, right? Like this, they're
We're all like this.
yeah, except Kieran. the really knowing elves aren't quite usually like this, but actually Elrond's still a little bit. Anyway, so well, actually, it depends on which part of the ship the wood will be used for. So some of it is brought in fresh, and a lot of that is used to decorate the cabins on the inside, create the furnishings for it. The wood that actually makes the hulls, we do season it. There is a very specific type of oil that we leave it in for quite some time. And that is what makes it exceedingly strong, but somewhat still elastic. And it makes it much safer and much quicker than regular wood, actually, as well.
that makes sense.
And she looks like, do you have another question I can answer? I know these things. And as she's doing this, she's sort of like organizing books and like just general tidying about.
Sure. I think I'd probably keep asking questions about the whole process until they arrive again.
Yeah. So she is happy to. Actually,
Yeah.
like if she didn't have perfect elven sight, she'd have big glasses that she kept pushing up and like adjusting as she like showed how smart she was.
Yes.
But she's happy to, and she's not unfriendly, and she doesn't seem to be putting you down in any way by answering. She's just excited because like everybody here knows this.
Sure.
So it's like I get to tell someone things I know that you don't know the things I know. That's just very exciting. So it's a little bit of like like the fresh, like young kind of like little foolish, little show-offy version of what Kieran like had his genuine interest in you not knowing things and sharing knowledge.
Sure.
But just a little like teen angsty a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we get there, do you and Kieran have like matching beard braids like you traded tips in the morning?
Oh.
Like, I did his up in a dwarven style today. He did mine in an elven style.
So cute. He is the only one with an elven style braided anything like that. But yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna say when the three of you get there, Kieran's already gone down to the docks. He did say goodbye to you.
Sure.
And he says he'd be back soon because he did want to speak with all of you.
Yeah.
He didn't, but he did want to go check on progress and get things started for the day. So like there's a lovely breakfast set out. You actually get shown by Tyndall into another like a large like dining room. Again, like not as formal as you'd expect, like lovely carving, but like livable. like lived in. It just feels like used. Yeah. So you're there, and there's breads and something that is the same sort of consistency as butter, but it tastes a little bit different. It's got a salty, but also a little bit of like a peppery note in there. That's a spread, and it's a little bit of a darker color than normal butter would be. There's different types of pastries with different fruits, like jellies in them, like things like that. Some of them are very familiar to you. Some of them, you've never tasted anything like that before. You have no idea what made it, but it's all really, really good. There's some dried, like fish, like that's like, again, like with a little bit of like the fruit salsa that you've had, but like not made on the road. Like this is
Not road salsa.
yeah. That's sort of road salsa.
Road salsa.
Absolutely nothing wrong with road salsa, just to be clear. It's elven street food.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing no matter what.
No, I 100% want a cooking show that's like a chef that has to make food in the back of a moving car.
Something somewhere.
Somebody's just driving and making turns.
Yeah, there's just like a whole assortment, and there's also this amazing assortment of different teas, like of all different type flavors and things like that, and something that tastes sort of like coffee, but a little bit earthier, like almost has like a little bit of a mushroom undertone to it. Yeah, but it's all very good, and you're just allowed to sit and eat as much as you want.
That's awesome. I'm here for that. The Hobbit is here for
Shocking.
that. Yeah.
Very good. So yeah, we can, if you want to actually act it out, or if you want to just tell them, or maybe you're keeping your evening a secret.
No. I mean, I would talk about the things we talked about. Like, we talked about all the things I saw and all that. And then this morning I gesture over at Tyndall in the corner. We're doing whatever business work. Tyndall was very helpful. So perhaps in the future, if I have to help with making another boat, I will be more helpful.
Oh, incredible. That's wonderful. Now you've seen some of the greatest shipwrights the world has ever seen. So, and Tyndall knows much about what we do.
Yes. It would be useful.
The audience gets like the face shot of Tyndall, which like knows much of what we do.
Yeah.
Like, but she doesn't say anything. There's just like, that's just an audience little thing. The rest of you continue.
It's good to be home.
All right. So say you have your breakfast. Is there anything anyone really wants to do? Because Kieran's about to like walk back in.
Yeah, I think at some point we do not have to roleplay it.
Okay.
Erlen just starts talking to Tyndall about like ship stuff, ship business, and you hear him rattle off so many phrases, both in common and in Sindarin, about ship parts that you've never heard him say before.
Yeah.
Just asks her 1,000 questions about what's going on down at the shipyards.
Yeah. Like a very rapid conversation in Sindarin. Popped in like every once in a while they can, oh yes, and then like say some things in common. Like, we don't want to be rude, and then they kind of forget. And at times it almost looks like they're kind of like debate. No. This is no. This. I think you might be remembering wrong because you've been out of here for a while. Like that sort of thing. A little bit of shade, but also like friendly bantering with people who really know it. Yeah, and then and then at some point you hear the door open, like striding down the hall, like very like long strides. Like this is obviously Kieran, and he comes. Oh, good morning, friends. May Gavanin, he says very nicely. At the... Yes.
And thank you for the wonderful spread here.
Oh, he honestly looks a little surprised. Oh, yes. This is just humble breakfast food, but I'm glad you enjoy it. We had a very pleasant evening. I hope all of you did as well.
We did.
It was wonderful seeing Erlen's home.
And Ranier's like once again dogging in the corner, like, oh, I'm just gonna curl in here.
Just a dog.
Yeah, just not looking at the Kieran. So he makes pleasantries while you finish your meal, and then he kind of ushers you all back into the sitting room you were in the night before. The light has come in. You realize now like how tall this room is, and it's actually got like very long windows, like much higher than than any height, like 12, 14 feet up is with like the bottom of the windows. So the walls are all kind of covered with different bookshelves, and then like this big beautiful fireplace and just random maps and pictures and things that are obviously like just things that he really cares for and likes. It's just his stuff that he likes. None of it's like the most stunning artwork or any of that. But the light comes into this room just like in just a stunning fashion. And you can see like it comes in, and as it goes through the day, it kind of lights up different parts of the room, probably the way it's designed. So he comes in and like takes a seat and gestures for all of you to sit as well. Pours what is like, it looks like tea, but he pours it into these very small, like sipping glasses, almost like what we think of as like dessert wine would be served in. And he's kind of just sipping that, and he kind of passes it around. And it tastes like tea, but there's like a sweetness and a very clear, like, there's a little bit of like some sort of alcohol in it. So it's like your after breakfast drink.
I down it. I was like,
Okay.
"Boom," and then I put my glass down for another one.
Okay, I'm gonna have you
I mean, not
roll.
thinking.
Yeah.
You roll.
Ellen watches this and is like, oh no, I did not warn them.
No,
I
you
was like,
didn't.
I'm used to having little cups like that. Just,
Yeah, that's what that's
it's a
for.
shot, So.
Oh, let's see.
How it falls over.
It's not going to be song or courtesy, I imagine.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
Oh boy.
Ooh, gosh, there's not really like a same thing for Constitution. I'm gonna have you probably just roll. Maybe we'll just have you roll awareness.
Awareness. Okay.
Well, no, like athletics. Why don't we have you roll
Okay,
athletics to see
athletics,
how your
okay.
body like metabolizes this very strong, meant to be sipped
Okay.
elven alcohol.
That's a great success.
Oh,
You're
Actually,
a hobbit.
hey, that hobbit resilience.
Yeah, like
I drink like a dwarf.
you do. I mean, for your body size, you drink quite a lot.
yeah.
Handled.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, no problem. Like, wow, this is cute. Maybe you'll share this with the kids back in the Shire. Not really, but we don't condone underage drinking.
Nope.
But anyways, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So
All right. All right.
you down it, you're like, oh, I think for other people that might be strong. Okay. Like that's sort of your reaction.
Sure.
And yeah. So, and the inspiration for this is Dave actually makes this amazing like tea alcohol. That's like my favorite thing to drink ever. It's like Earl Grey liqueur.
incredible.
My favorite thing.
That sounds really good.
So after this campaign, maybe Dave could make me some.
It's the season.
I know it's like
I'll have to get the stuff again.
but it's really great. It tastes like tea and it's alcohol. It's fantastic.
Is it like an infused thing?
Yes. So it's honey, but you steep the tea in vodka.
Ooh.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I set it up in my sous vide machine with honey in it, and
Oh.
it circulates for 12 hours.
Amazing.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
That's brilliant.
That
Yeah.
sounds great.
The first batch I made was very, very strong tea. I learned them. I left it too long.
Yeah. Oversteam.
Steeping, and then you strain out the leaves, and then I was like, "Ooh, let me try this vodka." And I was like, just the tiniest sip, and I was like,
I just bit it broken tea.
like my wife came and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I don't know. Give me a minute. Like I failed that roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tannin has got
Yeah.
to you. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But anyway, this is the thing
Yeah,
that exists that you can have and pretend like you're an elf. Anyway, so passes this around, and like after some things, you see him kind of like the way teachers signal to the class, okay, it's time to get serious. Like smile fades. He doesn't get like aggressive or gloomy, but just like, okay, now for serious talk. we must decide what to do with your stone. I do think that it has come to you for a reason. And it must be you who decides what is done with it. I do not think that it can stay here. It can... Well, we can petition for it to be sent west. You will need to make the case for whatever you decide. If you decide that it is removed from Middle-earth, that can be something that we ask.
Mhm.
If you think it should be taken somewhere else to be used for good, that is another option that can be. If you'd like help destroying it, that is something we would have to do research on before attempting, but that may also be something. I believe this is set to you. And so I hesitate to give too much counsel in the matter. But it either needs to be taken from the... What is the phrase that the game board, as it were. It needs to be completely removed, or perhaps used strategically. Having it sit next to another of its kind seems a temptation and a waste, for it cannot be used, nor is it safe.
Where would we send it?
Rivendell, perhaps, or one of the other great elven kingdoms, or if you think that there is, he kind of gestures to Runa, a kingdom of men who are deserving of such a thing. Gundor did have one many ages past, although the kings have failed. There are still strong men in those places. Looks a little doubtful at that, but it would be up to your wisdom to decide. Again, it did not come to me. It seems... Just kind of shrugs, like in an incredibly casual gesture for an elf. After all these millennia and so many years missing, for it just to come into your hands this way, and even stranger still for you to discover it hidden in the pearl, it has a link to you. He looks kind of sadly at Runa. Just kind of like a link now that some of you have touched it that will never fade. But it must be your choice. This is not something that we need to make in haste.
So, timeline-wise, the most prosperous dwarven stronghold is back at the Lonely Mountain now? Like they've moved back in now that the dragon's gone?
They've moved back in. They're still, like, setting up shop a little. Like, but yes, that is a very prosperous dwarven kingdom. They have some political issues a little bit with Bree, like over who exactly owns the treasure in the mountain. So there's a little bit of like back and forth debate on that. But they're like,
well, it's not Bree, right? It's
I'm sorry, not Bree.
Yeah,
Laketown.
Bardtown, yeah, Laketown.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I was looking at. The bar,
Barding.
where your people are from.
Yeah.
Yes.
sure, yeah.
So like there's a little back and forth. They're not like at war with each other. There's some scuffles. They do trade with each other a lot now. Now that the mountain's back, there's a lot of people coming through, specifically dwarves. Many people are trying to move back there. So that is probably the most well-known kingdom, and probably think again, dwarves aren't my specialty. The one that has like a true line of kings that has been chosen, like from that can trace their line back. So Thorin was killed in the Battle 5 armies, but his nephew. I have to Google that. Sorry.
He has some living relative.
Yeah, there is. It's like his yeah, it's like a nephew. It's a little disconnected, but who has actual blood of can trace it back to Durin, etc. Not direct line, but like
Somewhere
Elven
in the
Kings.
family bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the most well known.
Would it be helpful to have contact between another stronghold of a different type that we could?
Kieran realizes his presence is going to.
May I ask what your intention is for the one you possess when you find it time to leave?
When I return to the west, or when I go to the west, I've never been there. When I go to the west, I will take it with me.
Oh.
Mm.
So perhaps it would be good if we still had one, so that we could remain in contact, however far away you may be.
That is a fine thought, Master Dwarf. Whether Valinor lets that be so, or whether the Valar decide to shut it off completely, we do not know. But it would be nice to kind of look back sometimes. So, if it is their will.
Well,
There are also elven strongholds, as you've said, that, while not as vast as some of the wealth of your people, Hannah, they have those who are very old and very wise that might have good use of it.
I think I will get us more drink.
Yes.
And he very, very clearly leaves to let you talk amongst yourselves. Because he does not, he does believe that needs to be your decision, that the Valar have given this task to you. And he does not want to contaminate, for lack of a better word, your decision.
sure. Well, I could see that, but isn't the goal of the remaining elves to eventually leave also?
Yes. I, if I'm honest, my heart says to throw it into the sea.
Well, I mean, that's how we got into trouble with it in the first place.
Yes.
If the Sieg would keep it and not have it crawl upon the land again to attack, I would say you were right. I almost wonder if maybe it wasn't right where it was intended to be, although in the wrong hands. What of the Dunedain? What if it stayed in Numinous with them?
It would make them an even greater target than they are already.
True, but perhaps they could protect it.
If Laren's worries were justified and dark forces are marching for this, I don't know how I'd feel about leaving it in Numinas with the dwindling numbers of the Dunedain.
There are so few.
That is true.
Strongholds, then.
Strongholds. But the strongholds of the dwarves, the strongholds of men, or the strongholds of the elves. Because the strongholds of the hobbits aren't going to do the job either.
Though I, in my heart, believe that perhaps your people are the least corruptible by this.
I can't even begin to imagine what kind of troubles we would get with these things. Gossip is a strong thing. And in a gossip sayings, It's more a weapon than a tool.
Poor busybody hobbit taking
The
like
Sackville Baggins
Yeah.
is just rubbing over it and laughing.
With the crazy sorrow.
like 800 shadow damage because they're trying to spy on their neighbor, and he's like,
Show me the recipe
Oh my
for berry
God.
pie.
What does she put in her rhubarb?
The darkness is just like, why is it all food?
How many meals do these hobbits
That
have?
might be the
How
funniest
many
thing I have
meals do
ever
these
heard.
hobbits have a day?
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn something useful, but they're eating again. Okay.
Oh, that was the best thing ever.
so good.
You just see,
Here to
you see the eye up on the tower. It's looking around, and like it's just like forlorn. It doesn't have a mouth to eat.
Yeah, you hear the volcano, the like lava underneath bubbles. Hungry. That's what you get for getting rid of your body.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, perfection. I
Oh
love
my
it.
Oh,
God.
Lord.
All right.
And I think it does actually elicit a laugh out of Ireland.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
just
yeah.
cutting the very tense conversation.
Well, any way we slice it, we'd have to pass through Rivendell to get to any of the other strongholds,
This is true.
right? I think.
Yeah.
So, because I don't think Bree is up for the challenge,
Absolutely not.
and I don't think anywhere here
Mm.
is.
There's about 200 too many ruffians, I think, in Bree.
Mhm.
Yes, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might be useful if something comes to attack the city,
It's
but
true.
But I wouldn't trust it amongst them.
But your house is there, and you could like
Keep it in my
Keep it
house.
safe.
That is a thought that has occurred to her.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like put a little bit of the shadow
Yeah.
Mm.
and flick that on you.
Put it in the archive.
Mhm.
Be safe there, right?
Mm.
Well, we can travel east. Yes, and contemplate and perhaps see what others might do with it, because my true concern isn't can it be kept safe. It's who would wield it with ill intention and to seek the horrible things that I saw.
well, only way to find out is to get there, I suppose.
Yeah, agreed. We can make some stops along the way to reprovision.
Oh, absolutely.
That we can.
That's a long journey.
Tis.
Then towards the Misty Mountains, Tam Ladris.
Tomb Ladris.
I'm just going to like for just a moment you kind of remember the vision you had of the green stone and that how you like that was sort of the direction that you're going to be heading, like the one you saw like in I think it was the vision you saw, I think, from the ghost.
Yeah, it's the dream.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the dream of the
Mhm.
ghost. Yeah, like we've had so many dreams.
Mm.
Yes.
So much prophecy.
Yeah, so
Oh,
much.
just all of your prophecies get in line. You need to take care of you one at a time.
No wonder you have to take notes, Hanar. Yeah, so that's just kind of like that pops into your mind.
Sure. Well, I have a strange request before we leave.
Yes.
Do you think it would be impossible for us to take a few hours and see what one of these ships can do? I also have never been on the sea. I've seen it, but
I could see if there's a ship we could use.
even a small one, not one of the sacred ships, but there have to be little skiffs or something, right?
I'm certain that I could find us a ship. That would be delightful.
Yeah. And not that he was listening in, but Kierden just happens to walk in right then when you're done with your important conversation and talking about chips.
Shit. What was the ship?
Definitely was not listening to your entire conversation
At all.
Oh, you're finished with your conversation. Would you like to perhaps take a ride around the harbor?
Absolutely.
That would be delightful.
My friends would. I didn't do so well last time.
Well, you don't have to be the one sailing it this time.
I will take you myself, Master Hobbit.
We went, whoa. When I hear Master Hobbit, I'm like, oh, okay. I can't say no to that, I suppose. I look to you and I talk, I think back to the conversations that we've had in the past. And then I look to Runa. You're looking okay? About
She's looking
everything?
excited.
Okay.
She's like, can I go in the sea from the boat?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that is actually how I drank the salt water.
Oh, not on purpose.
No,
Oh, I see.
we've all done it.
And I'll look to you, Hannah, and you look like you're feeling pretty good about this.
I like the idea of a boat. I don't know about swimming in the sea.
Runa's like, I see peril. Let's make it more peril.
What if I got out of the boat?
Where are the most shark-infested waters?
Is there something I can fight in the water?
I'm
Any
gonna
more
fight
of
the
those,
ocean.
those giant anglerfish? They must swim out there in schools right now. Okay,
If you
I will
take them out, then they can't become another monster.
Yeah. I'll turn to you and I will give a little sigh.
Okay, all right. Well, I cannot resist such a gracious invitation.
Very well. He grins and he kind of gives a secret little wink to Erlin's we'll take him on a good show. It'll be great. So takes you down and walks you back down to the same way he brought you back up. He's walking you down to the docks. Did you want to stop by the?
I mean, I
Julie?
could take care of that on our way out.
Okay.
I wouldn't hold up the group.
Okay.
Okay, everybody. I
Hold
really
on,
appreciate
what is the
minute?
your generosity, but
Yeah.
I really need to make a stop.
Walks you down. Walks down the docks like he owns it.
Weird.
It's shocking, right? And walks down to the very far end, and then on the left is a ship that actually no one's on at the moment, and it looks absolutely complete. It's waiting to go. We do often, take them for short, tests about. They don't test these. They know they're made well.
Yeah, they know they work. It's fine.
Yeah, it's obviously he's trying to come up with a reason why it's fine for you to
Elven boat
ride on it.
shakedown,
Yeah. And he looks around and he gives out a whistle, but a loud, perfectly on pitch whistle though, without putting his hands in his mouth or any of that, just and but a pretty note. And a bunch of elves stop what they're doing and come running down, and he kind of gestures his head and nods towards the ship on the left, and they immediately jump to. They're prepping everything, and then almost all of them leave the ship. You notice that this is a pretty large ship, but it only takes it's designed for one or two people to be able to control the whole thing. It's mostly for passengers. So he himself, he kind of pushes his sleeves up a little bit, and you see he's still in really great shape.
Elven
yeah.
arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he has this drape on his shoulder that looks like it's completely just ornamental. He takes it and he pulls it and he wraps it around his beard. And he kind of ties it at the end so that it doesn't get caught on things while he's climbing and while he's pulling on the ropes. and yeah, he gestures you to come aboard. He shows you, like, he explains to each one of you the areas that you probably, I mean, obviously not you, Ireland. He knows
I get
you
to
know.
work.
Yeah. Thing. So it's just Ireland and Kierden, like, sailing this pretty large ship. Yeah, and so it pulls off. You've never been on a ship before, but it's like incredibly smooth. You can feel the breeze, and it rocks kind of in the water. There's not big waves. The harbor's incredibly calm, but there's a little bit of a rocking motion. And without even like shouting to each other, Ireland and Kierden like just are just running this ship, and like eye contact and things happen at exact the same moments, and it speeds up, and it feels like the smoothest, quickest ride. And as you're sailing around, you look down into the water, and it's like the bluest blue. And as you look back at the city, you can see like it's almost like 1,000 eyes turn towards the west, and you're kind of like almost feel for a moment like looking back from the west at the city and the harbor behind you. It's like you kind of feel like that anticipation, and you for a moment you kind of capture what it feels like to leave. And to this is what the elves see before they leave. Like, this is it. That's the last thing they see. And yeah, there's the seabirds are crying out as they go, and some dolphins like jump by the waves. You mostly stay in the harbor. You go a little bit out of the harbor and get some like real waves a little bit, but he comes back very quickly and brings you back to the dock after probably like a nice like 45 minutes, just a little experience. When you get back to the dock, he's like, if you'd like to dive in, this is one of the best swimming locations.
Oh, absolutely.
Erlen jumps off before you. The ship is tied off. Erlen is in the water.
Yeah.
She's surprised. Caitlin just like dives in after you.
And he kind of like grins at the dwarf and the hobbit.
Yeah, I'm good. That's plenty for me. I'm gonna grab actually like like a sheet of paper, and I'm gonna start drawing the stuff that I saw in the water, like dolphins. What the heck are those?
Yeah.
It's a huge fish.
Yeah. Feed a family for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Because
So
I
he
don't know
grins.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we'll end there for tonight. We'll pick up the next session kind of with like your final decision, preparation for what you're going to do. I do want to have a council soon, so kind of depending on exactly what you want to do, like we might have a council here before you leave, or when you arrive in Rivendell, will probably be like the big council moment. Hey, we have this dangerous thing. You want to keep it?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Hey, we're really sorry, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brought you something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yay.
It's just a pearl. Just don't undo the clasps.
Do not
Elrond's
open.
actual job is the receiver of very dangerous and important things.
Seems like it. Yeah.
he's like,
All right. Anything anyone wants to do or add to the story before we end tonight?
Can we have a scene of Ranyar on the bow of the boat with his floofs in the wind, just majestically?
Yes. Very.
Spray hitting Ranyard's
Yeah.
face.
Yeah,
Loving
absolutely.
every moment of it.
And I do want to add, like Kierden's like kind of looking at Ranyar, and like when Ranyar notices, he dogs. Oh, thanks, Siri.
he was listening for a really long time.
Yeah, it was.
Like I did the lean back and I pressed the button apparently.
And I don't know if any of you, maybe Erlen, you might be the only one who notices. He's kind of like, to each one of you, just in like casual conversation, asks you a little bit about Laren. It's like, so what, a fortune teller? How did you meet a fortune teller? Like very casual, like not prying in any way, like just a little bit of kind of gathering information about that. So the audience kind of sees like all these individual conversations and puts it together. Whether you are going to realize that as individual characters, he's very subtle about it. He's had thousands of years to practice, like quietly
Among elves.
Yeah, among elves of getting information. He is chill about it. But yeah, and that's where we will end, and we'll pick up here, still in the Grey Havens next week. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for session 11 of the Unsung Tales. I'd like to thank our chat mods for their very hard work tonight. And thank you also to our amazing patrons who keep us ad-free and independent. All the money that you give us goes back to making a better product, getting better cameras, paying the electricity bill, things like that, because we're a not-for-profit channel. So thank you for all your amazing work and making everything better and letting us play games that we want to play and not having to worry about ads or pleasing publishing companies or any of that stuff. We game for the love of it, and that's because you help us do that. If you want to join their amazing ranks, you can go to happyjacks.org/Patreon. And let's go around and reintroduce ourselves and say where you're at this week. Let's start over here.
Hello, I'm Sam. I have played Runa of Bree, your resident troublemaker and climber of things. You can find me on the internets at Red Pandroid on most of the socials. I'll be here every Monday playing this delightful game. And generally, other than that, you can just check out costumes I make, dog pictures of my cute dog, and occasionally I post thirst tweets about monsters.
Proud of you.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. I am Kai. I've been Erland, the very nervous elf. And you can find me on all social media platforms as Estelle of Imladris. Funny.
That name sounds familiar. Weird to say.
And you can find me here next week. Actually, this is my only show this week, but I'm very excited that tomorrow the trailer for the web series that I was the costume designer for called The Party, which is about a bunch of friends that play tabletop games together, drops tomorrow. So you can follow that at Party Web Series on all social media platforms, and it's going to be just a hoot. And then I also dropped a new episode of the podcast that I am in and help produce, called The Lore Brewery. We dropped a new episode yesterday for our ongoing fairy tale 5e adventure Far, Far Away, where we see what's at the top of a tower that we've been sent to in a fairy tale game. Yep. So yeah, you can listen to that and all of our other episodes on all podcasting platforms anywhere, and you can find us at Lore Brewery on all social media platforms. Lots for me.
Very cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Jay, and I played Sausage Brandy Bottom. I published like 3 things last week.
Nice.
I got my Fishblade game just right, a day or 2 before the deadline.
Okay.
And so, yes, High Tider, the fishing, runs off a new Caltrop engine. I'm basically trying to get people to roll D4s by the fistful.
Yeah.
So that's one. My second release is a D&D Spelljammer adventure called Monkey King. It's on the DM's Guild. And then the third release is a game called On Death's Errand for 9 Lives to Valhalla. It's an adventure that just got released with the new 9 Lives third-party license.
Yay.
And that's on jafrica.itch.io.
Nice.
You can find me on the socials. Transplant Asian on Instagram, jafrica, at jafrica everywhere else. And yeah, again, looking forward to coming back here next week and taking that long walk to Rivendell.
And heads up, if you want to get 9 Lives to Valhalla, the game about heavy metal cats, like using their 9 lives to make it to Valhalla.
Hello?
It's amazing.
Yes.
And
So
that's a
good.
friend of the pod, Gem Room Games. And they're awesome. They were our indie designer of the month like 2 months ago. And they're amazing. gemroomgames.com.
My turn.
Yes.
Surprise.
I somehow internalized the super drunk Orson Welles from the champagne commercial. Look him up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Where like he just is like asleep because he's drunk and he's just asleep, and then he hears the director go action. He goes, "Nah, champagne." Great. Anyway, I'm Kadave. You can find me online at CA Sith Lord all over the place. I know I've said it 2 weeks in a row and it hasn't happened because life keeps punching every day.
Yeah.
But this week, if it doesn't happen, everybody here is invited to throw dice at me.
No.
No.
Because I want to do it, and it's going to happen. I'll get back to streaming some Dave the Diver on Twitch, and 'cause I want to know what happens.
Why is there a kraken?
Yeah, there's a kraken. There's like undersea civilization that I want to figure out more about. Merfolk. I don't know what's happening down there, but it's a lot. There's a lot, so I need to know. And yeah, I'll do that this week, 100%.
Very good. I'm Kimmy, she, her, and I will be here on Friday for our advice show. I will be here on Sunday for our Demigods campaign going platinum, where I play a guitar playing, lead singing warrior perfectionist. It is not actually just me, allegedly.
We're all too dick believe.
I play electric mandolin. It's totally different than guitar, so it can't be me. And I will be here next Monday, also running this game. You can find me at Golden Lasso Girl all over the internet. I have actual Decima decks.
Oh my god.
That are going to be for sale as soon as I get 10 minutes to update the stock number on my website. So if you go to goldenlassogames.com, you can actually order real Decima decks. They're stunning. They have art by Samantha. And they're beautiful. The only difference is they don't have the gold leaf that was just special for the Kickstarter. They have just beautiful yellow. It's still stunning and amazing. And they're just so beautiful. They're amazing. So yeah, check that out. Help me pay off the credit card debt that I went into to get them produced. That's how indie gaming works. Yeah.
But they're beautiful, and you guys should actually do it.
Yeah, actually do that. So
And it's
yeah.
a great game.
It is. It's a very good game, and there's a bunch of actual plays if you want to go back and look at them. They're pretty cool, and it works with any system and a bunch of stuff. There's a whole spiel. Just go look goldenlassogames.com, and yeah, we will see you next week.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye,